develop sustainability and how we should move forward with it. But we have been blessed by tremendous support both from Singapore government as well as the government here in India in terms of taking this forward as well.
Thank you so much, Sunil, for your sustainable practices, even though it's a private company. Thank you so much. Now, I want to come to Dr. Julie. As you highlighted about farmers, right? So, to get into deeper of the farmers' climate risk faced by them, as you know that CII is one industry body which works so closely on policy advocacy for the government of India and for the government of respective states. So, I want your thought process and any kind of some suggestion or recommendation through CII which can go to government of Andhra Pradesh and then government of India. Anything, because see, end of the day, like, you know, the cyclones, right? It's one of the common factor now. If you see, even our travel got disrupted randomly. That's a very small part. It's a niche. But coming to case of farmers, they are the one we are here today. So I want to add on some more thoughts so that definitely we can make some record and we can make a policy advocacy through the respective governments. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give it a good try. And it's not only insurance, because insurance is there when it already has happened. Yeah? Let me try and spell out some possibilities, some things that need to be done before it even happens. So there are mitigation and adaptation strategies that really need to be in place. And we all know about that. So what does it mean? That means that we need to think of how to work with the farmers for them to adapt and use different planting strategies, seeding strategies, use water differently. You know, water is pretty much free in a number of states here in India. So what the farmers oftentimes do, they just leave the tap on, that they don't have to go to the fields. And what it does is, you have water all over the field, the nutrients are all coming out, the field is totally flooded, and the crop is going to suffer. So, it is important to impress on the farmers that that is not the right thing. But then, if they have no other chance but to actually, water all the time, while they sit maybe 2, 3, 4 kilometers back at home, we came up with the idea of developing a digital tool which tells them when to water the fields, so that then they can shut off the constant water supply and only water when it's really necessary. That way, the nutrients stay in the soil and the crops have a chance to really be good crops. Then, of course, we have to think about different seedlings, all of these peach and paniri. The paniri need to really be different, because the ones that we have, for instance, if you're in Andhra and you import them from Punjab, these poor paniri really suffer on the trucks all the way to Andhra, plus they are not the right ones for this kind of an environment. So you need to really have paniri, these little seedlings, that you grow in some kind of a greenhouse that can be done here in Andhra, much less expensive, they're available, and they are going to be drought or whatever, climate resistant, and that is another way of them saving money and having the right seedlings for their soil. Thirdly, you have to think of what to grow, because what was possible years and years ago might not be possible now, so you have to think about different crops, you have to have different crops during different seasons, so it's a whole cycle that is really necessary to consider if you think about how to mitigate the risks of them losing their crops. So the insurance comes at the end, but there is so much that needs to be done before it gets there. So what is necessary is that you work with the self-help groups, you work with all of the communities that are there, that feed into the FPOs. That whole ecosystem needs to be dealt with. in order for the crops to really have a chance to be good crops, and for the tomatoes to really have a chance not to be sold only in the village, but also to go to the next village and for the farmers to make more money. Then I'm coming to solar water pumps and all of these things. So if there are solar water pumps and the fields get watered by those solar water pumps, the people do save money, because they don't need electricity anymore, and because they save money, they're possibly then able to invest in scooters or whatever to transport their tomatoes and potatoes and whatever it is to the next village. So there's so many things that can be done to help the farmers, and specifically the women, to actually improve their current situation. But in order for that to happen, we really need to work with organizations on the ground, and all of that takes a lot of time and a lot of people and hand-holding to actually change the mentality and capacitate these farmers who are eager to learn, because they see that they're heading for disaster and they don't have the knowledge to actually change anything. But I can tell you from my experience, they're so eager, and specifically the women, they are so eager to learn, and what they're all coming up with, it is absolutely amazing in all of India. You know, from fish farming to mangoes, to drying whatever there is under the sun. It is unbelievable. And these women really emerge as leaders of the community, help other women, and are doing fantastic jobs. So wherever you are, just think about it, reach out to the closest communities, or make sure that they get the help that they need in order to change, because they are willing, they want to have a better life, they want their children to go to school, and they are necessary, as I said earlier, for the Indian, for India to move forward and to reach the goals that they have set themselves to reach. They're there and they're eager, and I think it is for all of us to think what we can do from wherever we are to help them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jolie, on your inputs. We definitely make observations on these things so that it can go to the government. Thank you. And coming to Sachin, that because the time restriction, I want to make it I want you to request to make it simple and crystal clear. How the climate risk influence the investments portfolios, especially in this scenario? Sachin, it's to you. Yeah. Maybe I think we are not able to hear.
Yeah. Well, over the next decade, the climate risk will fundamentally reshape the way India Inc. and the investors make equity investments in India. I clearly see 4 channels wherein there is a direct impact of the climate risk. One is the physical risk, second is a transition risk, third is regulatory risk, and fourth, which is very critical for any investment decision, is the cost of capital. I'll take these issues one by one. One is physical risk, wherein there is direct impact on the asset quality and the cash flows. India is amongst the most vulnerable countries in the world in terms of the impact by the climate change. So what it means as an investor, and while making an investment or incurring capex, is you have to put incremental capex for the changing climate conditions, because we are seeing more frequency and severity of the natural disasters like floods, heat waves, and cyclones in India. So you have to have an asset class which is climate change proof for at least few decades to come. So that's number one. Second is volatility in the operational costs. So whenever there are calamities which are much more beyond the natural comprehension, there will be volatility in your operating costs. And see what it means to the business preparation going forward is that you have to factor in those extreme conditions and account for that. So there will be a direct impact on the industries like food processing, infrastructure, logistics, real estate, and even BFSI in terms of the insurance coverage they have to do to take in account for such changes which are happening. Well, the companies and the sectors which will be better prepared for the future events will be much better placed and will definitely get higher valuation than their peers. Second is a transition risk. So as we speak, the policy and the technological advances are towards decarbonization of the world. For example, there is a global supply chain pressure from the European Union's CBAM regime, wherein the heavy industries and which are the major cause for pollution like the steel, the metals, the chemicals, they have to undergo transition and become greener in their operations. What it means to them is loss in the margin and regulatory pressure going forward. The brown assets, for example, the thermal power plants, we are already seeing they are being penalized, for being in the wrong place. And there is a valuation discount which the market is putting to them. At the same time, you would have seen that no institutional investor is touching or putting more investments into the the asset class which is polluting. So this means going forward that there will be a pressure on this particular sector, and any investor who is looking to invest going forward into the future, he will think whether this asset or asset class it adheres to the global norm of keeping the climate change temperature within 1.5 degrees Celsius, which is the global target. Third risk, which I feel is the regulatory risk. For example, SEBI has already put in norms, ESG norms for the top 1,000 listed companies in India. Earlier, this norm was voluntary. Now it has been made mandatory. And going forward, there will be more pressure and compliance requirements from the government body side, including SEBI. For the bigger companies, it's even more stringent because they are integrated globally. And so while they have to adhere to the domestic norms, they also adhere to the global norms of the West.
Sachin, with the time restriction we have, because we have something to do, so I want to finish it off. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just summarize So in terms of regulatory risk, so the companies which are adhering to those plans and preparing in advance, they will definitely trade at a higher multiple. And fourth, which is the most critical for my discussion point, is the cost of capital. Very close to my heart. Being an investor myself, I know that if you are climate change and ESG compliant, you can get longer debt at a lower cost. You attract superior equity capital, which again comes at a lower cost, and you get lower insurance premium. So all in all, it means that your cost of capital is going down, and the market will provide premium to the valuation. So ESG and climate change risk matrices, they are not just a lip service or ESG norms anymore. They are going to change the way we are going to invest, and they are the valuation drivers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sachin. And may I now invite CII, where they are prepared to release two important reports. One is on resilience framework of Eluru and West Godavari districts. And the second one is on building climate resilience for Indian industry. And I request the technical team to keep the QR codes ready. Yeah, please. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the launch of the report on disaster resilience framework of Eluru and West Godavari district. As you can see that we have a QR code on screen. You can scan this QR code and download this report. Let's have a big round of applause. we also have the launch of a second report. The second report is on building climate resilience for the Indian industry. Can we please present the reports? Once again, as you can see on your screens, we have the QR code. You can download this report by scanning this QR code. Building climate resilience for the Indian industry.
Thank you so much, all the panelists, for your insightful contributions for today's discussion, where the key examples what you have shared with us definitely will give a lot of deliberations and to the government through our policy advocacy through CII also. And today's discussion, which is centric on the climate risk, is a very big business risk, right? But also that resilience can become a strategic opportunity for Indian enterprises. So the climate intelligence and early adaptation are essential for competitiveness. And this business can integrate climate risk into strategic planning, supply chains, and value creation models. And I represent Avera, where under manufacturing electric scooters, our own journey from pandemic resilience to global climate dialogues has shown us when businesses, policies, and come together, sustainability becomes a multiple of growth. I hope today's discussion inspires, and much more collective action. Let us move forward with a collective commitment to build a climate resilient, competitive, and sustainable Indian economy. And I request CII to take this forward. CII, please.
Thank you, Session Chair Dr. Venkatramana, for moderating this session and for your valuable inputs and engaging our eminent panelists in the deep conversations. Thank you so much for your insights. And now may I request you in your capacity as Session Chair to kindly do the honors in presenting the mementos to each of our speakers as a gesture of our appreciation for their time and expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, may I request you to join me in giving a big hand to our panelists. I request the other speakers to kindly come forward. And at the end, we'll also have a group photograph. And on behalf of CII, may I invite Ms. Seema Arora to please join us on stage and present the memento to our session moderator. May I request session moderator Dr. Venkatraman to please come forward for receiving the memento. Sir, please, we'll have a group photograph. Requesting all the speakers to kindly come forward for a group photograph. May I request our speakers to please join us for a group photograph. And with this, we conclude the first session of second day of the summit. We will be moving on to our next session. We'll request you to kindly be with us while we just take a few minutes to make the necessary table arrangements. Thank you.
Minister in the center. छोड़ दो सब छोड़ दो
by Honorable Minister Shri Nara Lokesh and also be moderated by the President of CII. We will begin this session in just a few minutes from now. May I request all to kindly take your respective seats and settle down. We will be beginning this session very shortly.